Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. We are at sea today. We're speaking with the Director General of the Maritime Authority of Jamaica and the Chairman of the National Hydrographic Committee, Rear Admiral Peter Brady. There's a very interesting project being funded by the UK Hydrographic Office, which involves the Kingston Harbour and Portland Bight, among others. And Rear Admiral will talk to us about this project and situate its importance for us. We thank you so much for your company. Rear Admiral, good to have you on the show. So we are at sea today, but not at sea in terms of the information that we will call from you. So there is this important project to carry out hydrographic survey. Tell us what that involves, what it is, and the benefits to Jamaica.
Well, thank you for having me on the program. Hydrographic surveying really is a science of determining the depths of water of the ocean, the seas, any body of water, but also with the kind of sophisticated equipment that they use these days, you can also determine the configuration of the seabed and to some extent even the quality of the seabed, the type of seabed that there is. So Jamaica has hydrographic charts, nautical charts, that were produced many, many years ago from surveys that were very, very old. In the very old days, they used to drop a line over the side with a piece of lead, a lead line it used to be called, to determine depths. Well, the only problem with that is that you're only getting the depth of water below the ship, and the intervening areas were not being captured. And so the last time that any real comprehensive survey was done in Jamaica was between 40 and 100 years ago.
40 and 100 years?
So you can imagine how out of date
So
or
we are
nautical
in terms of the information that we currently have, yes?
Precisely, precisely. So through the Commonwealth Maritime Economies Program, which is one that is funded through the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office, small island developing states in the Commonwealth have been afforded the opportunity to explore and exploit the potential of their marine spaces. And one of the ways in which you can do it is to make sure that ships on which so much of our trade depends are safe to operate in our waters with up-to-date navigation charts. So the hydrographic charts, therefore, need to be current, basically. We asked for this assistance through the UK Hydrographic Office, and we are now, right now, getting this kind of assistance from them through this Commonwealth Maritime Economies Program. And that means that places such as Kingston Harbour, which, as you know, is the world's 7th largest natural harbour, but the data is very, very old. And in order to attract the kind of maritime investments that we need, not only with ships coming to Jamaica, but also maritime services that we need to provide to support these ships, we need to have modern surveys. But it's also an international obligation on our part, because we are a signatory to the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, called the SOLAS Convention. That convention deals with safety in all its aspects, and we are obliged to produce navigation information that's current and accurate. We haven't been living up to our obligations recently. But now with this project coming on stream, you mentioned Kingston Harbour and the Portland Bight, two areas that are for great development, great maritime development. We will now be able to, once the hydrographic surveys have been completed and the data now transition to charts, to nautical charts, we will now be able to produce current, highly accurate data, hydrographic data, that ships will feel much, much more comfortable with coming here.
So there is a multiplicity of benefits that will flow from our having up-to-date information, up-to-date hydrographic information.
Yes, I mean, when you look at Portland Bight, for instance, that survey is very, very old. Bauxite ships leaving Rocky Point are not loading to their capacity. because the data on the charts are very old, very, very old.
Yes, outdated.
So we're not therefore realizing the economic benefits, the potential of the economic benefits that we have in this country. When we now produce these accurate charts, ships will be able to load to their maximum draft because they will have accurate navigational data on which to navigate their charts. That's just one direct benefit.
That's a major benefit.
Yes, but look at cruise ships too. You was talking about bringing cruise ships into Kingston Harbour.
Yes.
Well, maybe one of the reasons we aren't getting them too is that our charts aren't as accurate as we, as the cruise ships, would like, because cruise ships are very, very particular about accuracy.
Absolutely.
I can tell you a situation of a case in the British Virgin Islands where, after a hydrographic survey, they were able to realize 50 times the growth in cruise shipping.
50 times?
And when you compare the ratio of the cost of the survey to just the first ship that came into that country, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Absolutely amazing. We're going to take a break at this point. So this hydrographic survey, it seems like an also technical matter, and it is, but its implications are very practical to Jamaicans, to you, in terms of increased earnings, increased investments that will flow to the country. Rear Admiral Peter Brady is telling us about this project, which is funded by the UK. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
The Jamaica Information Service, JIS, your #1 source of government information. Tell your friends and keep watching.
Welcome back. The chairman of the National Hydrographic Committee and the Director General of the Maritime Authority of Jamaica, Rear Admiral Peter Brady, is our guest, telling us about an important technical assistance program which would help us with hydrographic surveys. What is the funding resources available, Rear Admiral, for this project?
Well, what I'll do is I'll put a value on the project itself.
Yes.
If we were to contract this job out
Yes.
to private surveyors, a
Yes.
private hydrographic surveying firm,
Yes.
conservatively, because I don't really have the exact figures, conservatively we're talking in excess of 50 million Jamaican dollars. 50 million. The survey itself has like 6 scientists and geophysicists, surveyors, and so on.
Yes.
And just their pay alone would take up a lot.
Yes.
And then the expanse, the scope of the work is very, very broad.
Yes.
I mean, the survey in Portland Bight, for instance, is estimated to take 50 days. But this is 50 perfect days. Sometimes we have weather, you know.
Yes.
Sometimes we have severe weather systems. And
Yes.
while it's unlikely at this time of the year for any unusual severe weather systems to take place, we still have to consider that. But that's 50 days to do that part alone with the vessels, incidentally, which they have contracted with people
So
here.
the project has started already?
It's not started per se,
Yes.
but the equipment now is being cleared.
And are the personnel here?
And the personnel have been here for about a week.
Oh, people are
And
here.
they are going, when the equipment is cleared, they'll outfit it on the vessels, and they have to do this with great precision. Because as you can imagine, as you are going along the line of survey, you have to get your exact position. And they do this with highly sophisticated automatic identification systems. And that has to be merged with the data that's being collected. So every sounding that is taken is charted. You get the exact position, and at the end of the survey period, you transfer that data onto the chart. And as you know, you have to know where you are at all times at sea.
Yes.
But you also have to identify the soundings. And so the soundings have to be placed in a position that is mapped or charted, so to speak. So for the Portland Bight area, we're talking about 50 days. For the Kingston area, we're talking about maybe 15 to 20 days. And what we have done is we have asked them to expand the scope of the Kingston area for the south channel of Kingston Harbour. The east channel is the main channel, However, in the unlikely event that we have a major problem with the channel there and ships will be temporarily inconvenienced, we have to use this alternative channel. So we've asked them to also survey that channel. It's not as deep as the main channel, but at least it will be able to handle the Caribbean feeder ships that come here on a weekly basis and trade with us. So to come back to the point about the cost, then the value, it's in excess of 50 Jamaican dollars and could well push 50 million, and could well push 60 odd million.
In terms of, but this is overdue surveying.
Well, you know, it's a good question. You said there it's overdue. The fact that it's overdue means that we do not have the capability within the National Land Agency, which has the hydrographic surveyors, because we have highly trained people too, but we don't have the capacity to do it. We don't have the equipment. The equipment they have is very, very rudimentary, and it's what you call single scan sonar equipment. This equipment which these people have are multi-beam scanners. So as they're going along a line, they are capturing data not only under the vessel, but to the side of the vessel, on both sides. And that is highly accurate, the multi-beam.
Yes. And so we will be able to fulfill our international obligations.
That's correct.
As a result of this.
That's right. But you know, we've also been hinting to the program manager that we want to get some more beyond that. We want to be able to build up the capacity of the National Land Agency some more, so that we can take on even some more close inshore work to go to those areas, to survey those areas that the project now will not be covering, and to look even beyond that, because you know we have a big resource south of Jamaica called the Pedro Banks. That was last surveyed in the 1800s.
1800s?
That's right. And there's not only living resources down there, but there are also non-living resources which we are interested in. Maybe hydrocarbons, but also there are some archaeological interests down there.
Absolutely.
As you remember in the past, we used to do some preliminary work down there. When we do a comprehensive survey down there, we'll be able to pick up a lot of things, including wrecks that go way back 200, 300 years.
Yes.
And then we can go to the various agencies and attract them to come back there and do all kinds of work.
Yes.
But the point is that we will be having current data, up-to-date data on what exists down there, the nature of the bottom, the depths of the water. And that's for us, that's very important information at this time of Jamaica's maritime development.
Absolutely. Because the maritime is very important to Jamaica, about 93% of our trade.
93% of our foreign trade. Which means to say all the exports and imports go by sea.
By sea.
And this figure is actually quite comparable with the global figure. 90% of global trade goes by sea. So sea trade drives the world economy. We may not want to accept that, but it's a fact of life. Absolutely. Sea trade drives the world economy. And if you can provide for uninterrupted sea trade within your waters and be able to bring in the most modern ships with large drafts, large depths, then you know we are therefore out there capitalizing on the opportunities that exist.
This survey will help us to attract those ships.
That's correct.
Because now the ships will have the assurance that the Jamaica can manage.
That's right. They'll have the confidence to come here somewhere. And we talk about Portland Bight, you know, with the LNG project now down there. Right now, all they're doing is transporting LNG around to Montego Bay and back. But the ship that is supplying that small supply ship is a very, very large vessel. Now, it's constrained, so to speak, by draft right now. As we go along and develop some more, we may need to bring in bigger ships. And therefore, with a confidence survey, then we won't have a problem there. And they're not only just thinking about supplying, they're thinking about regasification of LNG down there. And, you know, that's big for Jamaica. Because, you know, we too are very conscious about our greenhouse gas emissions from normal fuel operations. So it's, in a word, Ian, it's good for us. It's timely. And we're capitalizing on the opportunities. But we also want to thank the UK government for recognizing and answering answering our queries about coming here.
A very important initiative indeed. We thank you so much, Rear Admiral Peter Brady, Director General of the Maritime Authority of Jamaica and Chairman of the National Hydrographic Committee, which is a part of a committee of cabinet.
That is correct, because it is the National Council on Ocean and Coastal Zone Management is a council of the cabinet.
Of the cabinet.
Of the cabinet,
Yes,
that's right. It's a committee of the cabinet, so to speak, and it's chaired by a minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They form this National Hydrographic Committee because they look at all maritime policy making to make sure that, for instance, there's no overlapping, there's a coordination of effort, that we all know in the agencies what the other one is doing, so that we don't create any perturbations among ourselves. And one of them was to coordinate the work of hydrographic surveys. You know, because
important work you're doing, Rear Admiral Peter Brady. Keep tuned to us here on Issues and Answers. We give you breaking news. We'll let you know what is happening, the important news. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Bourne wishing you a pleasant day.